booties for black girl nerds.
Hi.
I'm just eavesdropping. Yeah, go on.
You got that professional mic. You came prepared.
Right.
Hey, I'm a podcaster. It's what I do. It is what I do.
Love it.
Well, Kerry, Delroy, it's a pleasure to meet you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I'm going to start with you, Kerry. Paige is proof positive that just because you're a therapist doesn't mean you have it all together when it comes to relationships and communicating with your partner. So why do you think she has a bit of a blind spot in that area?
I think that, there's that saying, therapist, heal thyself, right? Like I think Paige comes to the work of helping to fix people's hearts and minds because she's looking to fix her own heart and mind and to kind of understand her own trauma and move past it and be more loving. She wants to put more love in the world because she also needs more love in the world. So I love those things about her.
And needs love herself.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
I know that's
in
what you're
her
saying.
world. Yeah, that's right. Not just in the world, in her world.
Yeah.
So I love that she's an example of somebody who has blind spots because I think we all have blind spots as people. We're all doing the best we can. And the show is so much about how family can trigger those blind spots and how family can often be I love that there's a saying that your parents know how to push your buttons because they installed them.
I love that.
But I think also your family is your opportunity to grow. Your family is your opportunity to evolve and grow, to be the person that you can be, to fulfill your potential. Get in there.
Okay.
I know. I heard that.
No. What's wonderful about that little you were processing, and these questions challenge us, and they challenge us to come out of our. Well, I don't think Kerry or I are in a shell. We're not. But the questions challenge us to really think and contemplate on this work, contemplate on each other, contemplate on these processes, and that's what's. You don't always have the answer. I know I don't.
And that's so affirming because that's what we love about the show. Like we want people asking these questions, not just of us, but of each other. So
that's right.
It's really, it's so exciting to that question even comes to mind too. Because this isn't one of those junkets where we have like the same answer for every question. Like the questions that are coming from people from watching the show are so intimate and honest and real and important. And
which causes as much as one can to be as organic, to be not to produce a canned answer, but to try to be as organic and authentic as possible in our responses and in our interactions with each other and with you all.
Yeah. And what I love about this series is that even though it's kind of branded as a sitcom, it's very introspective and you learn a lot about these characters and it's infotainment. It's so, I really love that of what UnPrisoned brings us. Over to you, Delroy. Meanwhile, Edwin, he's there to fill the gaps of where Paige can't see in her mistakes, in those blind spots. So what do you think it is about his experience and where he is now with his relationship with Paige that informs the kind of advice that he gives her?
That's a really good question. That's such a good question because to the extent that I may be there to fill in some, fill in some gaps in terms of where Paige is in her life, I have to accept there are a whole bunch of gaps with myself.
That I'm helping you fill as well.
That you're helping me fill, that my grandson is helping me fill. And so
your girlfriend too.
And my girlfriend. I'm going to answer your question or respond. On the one hand, I want to change myself. But on the other hand, there is an awareness of this tradition, this history of mistakes having been made, needing to clean stuff up, needing to address certain things, not knowing quite how to do that. In other words, it's really human because that's what happens in the world. And the one thing I would say that I was not maybe as aware of in the beginning of the work that I'm really aware of now. How do I change things? How do I change and address my relationship with my daughter in that process? How am I changed? I really want to be different from my grandson. So it's change, 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 change. And how do you do that?
Absolutely. Well, this series is brilliant. I can't wait for everybody else to see it. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Delroy, for your time. Thank you for speaking to Black Girl Nerds. I really appreciate it.
I'm a fan of the podcast, so thank you for being here.
God bless.
Yay.
God
Thank
bless.
you.
Yeah.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Awesome. Well, it's good to talk to you, Marque. It's been a while. I don't know if you remember, but I talked to you a long time ago.
Yes. Was it the film, Dear White People?
It was for the film Dear White People at South by Southwest. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. It was the show at that time, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all a blur. But
I
good
know
to
it's
see you
all a
again.
blur.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see you on this project. I absolutely love this show. And I love your character, Mal. And
Thanks.
what's interesting about him is, and his connection with Paige is Paige, she has a lot of issues.
As we all do.
Yes, as we all do. And we see that throughout the series and through Mal's relationship with Paige. Do you think that it helps her face the trust issues that she has, or hides behind it more, her relationship with him?
You know what? I'm not really sure. I mean, Mal is, I guess, I would consider him like the secure attachment style of the attachment style. So what Paige gets from him, maybe it helps with her trust issues. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it pushes her further into trust issues. Maybe. I mean, I think it's a balance. I think it's a mix, as you all will see, and maybe you've seen as the series plays out. So, but he's just the grounding force, with Paige and Edwin. So what they take from him, I don't know, but he is a grounding force.
And with the dynamic of their relationship, we need a Mal to help keep them balanced.
Yes.
What has been your proudest moment so far working on this series for you?
My proudest moment has been that I kept my job from the beginning to the end. No lie, from the beginning, it was day one, there was a scene in the first episode where myself, Kerry, and Delroy were in the scene. And between one of the takes, I had to stop and be like, hey, I just want y'all to know that I can't act like this is not happening right now. And I'm freaking the bleep out. And then I just started rambling to Kerry and to Delroy, like how much they mean to me as, Black people and Black masters of their craft. And so I was just so grateful to be in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing about Mal that's very interesting is his attraction to Paige, which obviously she's a very attractive woman. But aside from her being gorgeous, what do you think it is that he sees in her? Is it something that he sees in himself that attracts him to Paige?
Interesting. I think aside from her attractiveness, aside from her beauty, her physical beauty, but her intelligence, and also her brokenness. I think Mal has an attraction to brokenness, but not in a way that is not brokenness in terms of like something that's negative, but just a brokenness and an imperfection that we all have as human beings. So the brokenness.
Yeah. I mean, would it be safe to say too that, because he's kind of like a rehabilitator in a way with even in his relationship with Edwin, is he there to do that with Paige? Because Paige has got some issues in her relationships, which is kind of ironic, being that she's a therapist and she's there to heal people in their brokenness. Is he there to be a healer in that way?
I think so. I think more so unconsciously as well too. I think there's something in the ether that he's attracted to, even in his relationship with Edwin. That's a uncommon closeness that Edwin and Mal share, through this process. Like, this is Mal's job, but he has a connection between Edwin and Paige that's uncommon.
Absolutely. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you, Marque. I hope we get to speak sooner than like many years in between.
Hey, I'm here. You know where to find me.
Absolutely.
I hope
Well,
so
thank you
too.
for taking the time to talk to Black Girl Nerds. I can't wait for everybody else
Always.
to see
I
this
love
show.
Black Girl Nerds. Thank y'all. Thank you always for all y'all support throughout the years, for sure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You take care.
You too.
Well, it's lovely to see the two of you. I absolutely love this series. It's so refreshing. And I'm glad that you guys are paired together because your performances was absolutely delightful. Faly, I'm going to start with you. Finn has an instant connection with his grandfather, Edwin, and he even covers for him in some instances.
Oh, yeah.
So why do you think they have this unique bond?
Well, Finn is a character who's grown up with a single mother. He hasn't really had the opportunity of getting to have a father figure in his life. And especially one as cool as Delroy, that doesn't come along very often. So the fact that that just appears on your doorstep, you can't help but to grasp onto that and just put a lot of your trust into that. And, getting to create a relationship with Delroy throughout the series and getting to make that grow and watch that blossom has been such a great experience.
Yeah. I would imagine it was a very intimidating yet very entertaining and interesting experience working with Delroy Lindo on this project.
Nah.
No big deal. Just Delroy Lindo.
Yeah, just Delroy.
Jordyn, for you, oh gosh, I absolutely love your character as little Paige. She gives us a lot of background as to who Paige is, which helps shape her character. So tell me about the persona that you play and where does that come from? Is that in the script on the page? Is that something that you sort of conjured up in your head?
I don't know what precision means. I'm sorry.
Oh, her persona, like her character.
It was personality.
Oh, okay. I would say she is the queen of backtalking. She is fierce, but also sometimes a little serious. But then as soon as we're talking about Nadine, she gets all riled up this girl ain't gonna starts oh my gosh, she starts getting angry and she literally says what Paige says in her mind and she's just saying it. She's like, I don't even need to wait. I'm just gonna say it right now.
Would you say a little bit of you is in little Paige?
Yes. A little bit of me is in little Paige.
I absolutely love it. Faly, back over to you. Paige has allowed her past baggage with her father to cloud her judgment, and she sees him differently than Finn sees him, who's more open and trusting of him. Why do you think he's a little bit more trusting than Paige is?
Well, Finn is definitely coming from an extremely outside perspective. Paige has grown up with this idea of her father her whole life. And it's not something she speaks about very often. So I haven't even gotten to hear about my grandfather as much. I didn't even know what his name was at the beginning of the show. So when we first introduce each other and I first meet him, I get to see him with a fresh pair of eyes. I get to see who he is right off the bat without any sort of exterior ideas or thoughts that would intrude into my mind. Whereas Paige, she's grown up with this trauma of her father that, she has to learn to either cope with or try to escape from. And it's a difficult task for her, which is why Finn is extremely understanding of both parties and just working to try and keep everyone together, be the glue.
Yeah. He is. He's kind of like the yin and yang of them. And I absolutely love that. Back over to you, Jordyn. What have you enjoyed the most about playing this character who just adds so much light and levity to Paige's character?
Not Not saying I actually doing it in real life. I actually like when she cusses because it really describes Paige's character. And I get mad at people and my friends all the time that I want to say those words, but I can't. So I get to release my anger in the scene.
You get full permission at this point. Are your
Yes.
parents like behind the scenes in the background kind of watching, and
They're just
you get to unload and it's okay.
And she's great at it too.
You're great at it. And
The
you get
first
paid
table
for
read.
it.
Oh yeah, the first table read, she like started spewing the words out, and I was like, she's done this before. I was like, it's not her first time. I was like, no way.
Oh my gosh, that's absolutely fun. Well, listen, you guys were so entertaining. I love this show. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to Black Girl Nerds. And I can't wait for everybody else to see it.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Hi, great. Thank you.
Good. So I want to start by asking, what is the origin story behind creating this idea for this series?
Well, the origin story is really my life. I am born and raised in Minneapolis. My dad was in prison most of my life, in and out. His last prison sentence was 19 years. And when he got out, all the 19 years he was in there, I knew he was going to get out. And I was always like, what is that going to be like when he comes out? When he went in, I was a young woman. I didn't have a child. Like, my life was completely different when he went in. And I knew that we were going to have to establish a relationship with each other. And I feel like I wrote this to try to work through some of the issues that I was nervous about and scared about.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is such a compelling series. I absolutely loved it. And I noticed that UnPrisoned, that there's themes of trust. And trying to build that trust in relationships and also communication. So how important does communication play a role in building trust, particularly as it relates to this series?
Well, what's really interesting is that good communication requires trust. So it's like the trust really has to come first. And maybe it's even a different word. Maybe you have to have a little bit of faith in the way that you're dealing. Like we talk about good faith. I feel like if you're really going to build trust with somebody, you start with some faith, but also they have to earn it. You don't just give people a big pile of trust, especially if they've broken your trust in the past, like my dad had. I think it took a long time to establish that relationship and establish that trust. Communication is huge, but if you don't trust, the communication is only going to go so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely empathize. As someone that grew up in a single parent household and my dad wasn't there, I can completely empathize with this story and dealing with those kinds of issues. And one of the interesting dynamics of this show that I notice is the age gap when it comes to the accepting of others, particularly with the character of Finn and how he's more receptive to Edwin compared to Paige, who isn't. And is it more complicated than just age, given that Paige does have those daddy issues? Or as we get older, do we become a bit more bitter when it comes to being, more forgiving?
Well, I have a teenage son. I mean, he's no longer a teenager, but when my dad came out of prison, he was a teenager. And what I saw is that my son hasn't had the level of trauma. My son didn't go to foster care. My son, has a strong dad in his life. So he's not dealing with a set of defenses that I was dealing with when it came to my dad. In some ways, my son was like, he was pulling me toward a relationship with my dad because he was showing me what was possible. And he was showing me the best side of my dad because my dad could be his best self with my son. He didn't have to climb over the wall I had put up. And even though I love my dad and I think I was really open to my dad, I still had a lot to deal with from all those years where he was in and out of prison.
Now that this is done and you've given birth to this baby that is going to be adapted on Hulu soon. What's your proudest moment in this journey?
Well, I think my proudest moment is being able to tell a story that's never really been told before, but tell it in a really loving way. So at the heart of it, this is a show about a family. It's a show about a woman, her son, and her dad, and how are they going to move forward in life. But also it's a story about justice impacted families and mass incarceration and what it does to a family. And I think that we're showing something that we hear about, but we've never really seen it depicted in a real way in media. And I wanted to be able to do that. And I feel like if we can move hearts and minds and open hearts and minds to justice impacted families and people, individuals, that's what I came here for.
I can't wait for more people to see it. Such rich storytelling. And then just with a lighthearted comedy on the side to make it entertaining. Absolutely great work. And thank you, Tracy, so much for taking the time to talk to Black Girl Nerds. We really appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds.